only chose baseball because I had a million things going on at home outside of.
On this hill, one story burns brighter than the lights, a crown forged from dirt, doubt, and a defiant bat flip. Chicago, the city of grind and glory. Somewhere between the lights and the noise, one man built an empire out of pure will. They see the mansion, the cars, the fame. They don't see the cost behind the crown. He wasn't born into a legacy. He built one, swing by swing, headline by headline, and one defiant flip of the bat at a time. They called him reckless. They called him arrogant. But what they didn't see was a man fighting for identity, respect, and redemption. Behind the shine stands a survivor, a husband, a father, a man who turned pain into purpose and nearly lost it all in the process. This isn't just baseball, it's empire building, born from struggle, fueled by silence, crowned in confidence. If the world gave you everything you dreamed of, but the very thing that made you famous started tearing you apart, what would you do? This is Tim Anderson's kingdom, where diamonds aren't only on the field. Before the mansions, before the cameras, before the flash of diamond chains, there was just a kid from Tuscaloosa chasing something he couldn't yet name. He was raised by a single mother, a quiet powerhouse who worked double shifts to keep the lights on. His father wasn't around. His heroes? The ones who showed up every day. Money was tight, opportunities tighter still. In Tuscaloosa, you didn't dream of fame, you just dreamed of escape. Baseball wasn't even the plan. Basketball was his first love, his peace, his purpose, his way out. But destiny doesn't knock, it whispers. For Tim, that whisper came from the diamond. One day, a coach saw something different, a swing too smooth to ignore. He pulled Tim aside and said, "Kid, you got something special." 6 words rewrote his story. While his friends chased weekend lights, Tim chased daylight, grinding in silence, praying in motion. He once said, "I learned discipline in the dirt." Every swing was a prayer for better days. Those prayers took form at East Central Community College. A scholarship, a second chance. The door everyone said would stay shut finally opened. At East Central, he wasn't the loudest or the fastest, but he was the hungriest. Every inning was proof that small-town boys could play big. He became a local legend, raw, electric, unpredictable, just like the man he'd become. But behind every highlight was heartbreak rejection letters, sleepless nights, doubts louder than cheers. He wasn't built from privilege, he was built from pressure, and in that pressure, he found purpose. She'd seen him fall, she'd seen him rise. Now she watched him leave Alabama, carrying not just a bat, but a promise. He once said, "I wanted to give my daughters the life my mom never had. Everything I do starts there." That small spark from a southern town was about to ignite under the brightest lights in baseball. He didn't know it yet, but one phone call from Chicago would change everything. In that moment, Tuscaloosa's son became baseball's rising king, forged from dirt, driven by discipline. He wasn't running from his past. He was running toward his empire. The crowd in Chicago doesn't just cheer, it roars. Under the bright white stadium lights, a young man steps up to the plate, eyes steady, shoulders loose, mind locked in. The name on his jersey reads, Anderson. But on that night, it could have just as easily said destiny. When Tim Anderson was drafted by the Chicago White Sox in 2013, few outside his family believed he'd make it this far. Scouts saw raw athleticism, but whispered doubts behind their clipboards. Too inexperienced, too late to develop. But Tim had built his life on being underestimated. This was just another chapter. He entered the league with one mission to prove them wrong, one swing at a time. The moment he stepped onto the major league stage, it was like flipping a switch. He brought something baseball hadn't seen in years. Every step between the bases carried rhythm. Every stolen base felt like a statement. He wasn't just playing, he changed the rhythm of the game. Fans saw it instantly. The fire, the joy, the unapologetic energy. Reporters called it flashy. Tim didn't see confidence as arrogance. He saw it as culture, for the kids. Watching from neighborhoods like his, he wasn't just a player, he was a representation. After years of grinding, Tim Anderson became the American League batting champion, hitting .335 for the season, one of only a few black players in the modern era to claim that title. But when the final stats came in, he didn't just celebrate. He stood tall for something bigger. He talked less about numbers, more about impact. Success, he said, wasn't about toning down who you are. It was about turning yourself up. They called it the bat flip heard around the world. A celebration to some, a spark to others, a line in the sand to many. For some, it was showboating. For others, liberation. A moment that said baseball belongs to everyone. Anderson smiled through the criticism. I play with passion. If you don't like it, play better. He wasn't just breaking records. He was breaking molds. But behind every highlight was pressure. Fame brought luxury designer suits, endorsements, red carpets, but it also brought scrutiny. Every mistake became a headline, every gesture magnified. He once said, "When you're from where I'm from, the world expects you to mess up. So I make sure my success is louder than their expectations." For some, that kind of attention could break a spirit. For Tim, it became fuel. He had become the heartbeat of Chicago baseball, the face of a generation, proving that emotion isn't weakness, it's power. Kids copied his swing. Fans wore his number. Players played freer because Tim made it okay to be yourself. That's what pioneers do. They don't dim their light. They light the way. Representing Team USA at the World Baseball Classic, he stepped up not just as a player, but a leader. Critics questioned if he could perform on the international stage. He answered by letting his game speak. His energy was contagious. His leadership, undeniable. He was no longer the kid nobody bet on. He was the pulse of American baseball. But fame has shadows. Personal challenges became public. The same media that once praised him now dissected his humanity. He didn't hide. He worked through it, pouring into mentorship programs, youth development, and family. He once said, "The game gives you a platform. What you do with it, that's your real legacy." While the world focused on home runs, Tim was building something bigger: culture, community, and purpose. He's not just a batting champ, not just a bat flip. He's a bridge between generations, proof that greatness isn't just in stats, but in the stand you take when the lights are brightest. He plays like it's personal, because for him, it always has been. Every base he rounds is a memory of Tuscaloosa. Every swing a reminder. No matter where you start, you can swing your way into history. When you talk about Tim Anderson today, you're not just talking about baseball. You're talking about an empire built not on luck, but on precision, passion, and pride. About 8,000 square feet of balance. That's what Tim calls it. Inside, marble floors, glass walls, subtle gold accents, and light bending perfectly through custom skylights. A personal gym, recovery pods, oxygen systems, cold plunges. Because in his world, even rest has a routine. A private theater designed for both film and reflection. And behind a hidden panel, his sanctuary, a batting cage. A reminder that even empires need foundations. A home that reflects both focus and freedom, built by a man who beat the odds. This isn't just a mansion. It's a symbol of duality. The same kid from Tuscaloosa, now surrounded by art, but still grounded by purpose. The architecture mirrors his mindset, clean, structured, and unapologetically modern. On the back terrace, city lights shimmer across the pool's reflection. Every corner tells a story of arrival, but not arrogance. Here's where personality meets precision. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan, the crown jewel. Matte black finish, gold-stitched interior. The license plate reading, simply, TA. It's not just transportation, he once said. It's testimony. Then there's the Lamborghini Urus Fire Orange, roaring through downtown on a Sunday night. It's not subtle, and neither is he. When he drives it, the message is clear speed still runs in his veins, just off the field. And then There's the vintage 1971 Chevrolet Camaro, rebuilt from scratch. Not for status, but sentiment. It was his grandfather's favorite car, the man who taught him patience and pride. Every vehicle tells a story, not of money, but of memory. It's not about price tags. It's about progression. Each ride marks a chapter of his journey, a reminder of how far he's driven literally and figuratively. Tim's fashion isn't loud. It's lyrical. Every outfit is an expression. Every chain, a chapter. Cartier watches glint under stadium lights. Diamond pendants mark milestones, one for each All-Star appearance, another for his daughters. His wardrobe swings between tailored luxury and streetwise rebellion custom Louis Vuitton fits, exclusive Nike collabs, limited edition New Balance cleats that became instant collector's items. But behind the shine lies a philosophy. His wardrobe isn't about attention, it's about evolution. He shows the world that black excellence doesn't have to conform. That style isn't about status, it's about storytelling. In one interview, he said, "I don't dress to impress, I dress to express. I'm wearing my journey." That's what makes his presence magnetic. It's authentic, fluid, and fearless. When the season ends, Anderson doesn't disappear. He retreats. Miami, Los Angeles, sometimes the Bahamas, where he unplugs completely. Private beaches, morning golf, sunset meditation by the water, family cookouts that feel more like therapy than vacation. In Miami, his home overlooks the sea, airy, calm, built for stillness. He spends hours reading psychology, philosophy, and leadership. When friends visit, the talk isn't about fame, it's about focus. He travels with intent. Every destination has purpose, reflection, connection, recovery. And even on vacation, he's still a student of the game, practicing swings in hotel gyms, studying film between flights. For Anderson, luxury isn't escape, its enhancement. Not running from the grind, but recharging for it. But even surrounded by beauty, he admits peace can't be bought. It's built. He's spoken about how success can feel isolating, how money amplifies pressure instead of erasing it. There were nights, he said, when the mansion felt too quiet, rooms filled with everything he wanted, yet something was missing. That something, he later realized, wasn't fame or fortune, it was fulfillment. So, he shifted his focus. More family time, more mentorship, more mental health advocacy. His luxury evolved from marble floors to mindful living, from loud celebrations to silent gratitude. Because even surrounded by glass, leather, and LEDs, his real wealth isn't material, it's emotional. The truest symbol of success for Tim Anderson isn't his cars or his jewelry, it's control. The power to choose peace over pressure, purpose over perfection. Because every king's palace has its shadows. And for Tim Anderson, the next chapter isn't about what he owns, it's about who he's becoming. Beyond the lights and headlines, there's a softer rhythm to Tim's world. Slower, peaceful, and full of purpose. Away from the stadium noise, he's not the all-star or the icon. He's just Tim, a husband, a father, still learning balance between fame and family. He met Bria long before fame ever found him. Back when dreams were fragile and the future uncertain, she saw something steady in him, a man driven, humble, and curious about life. What began as friendship grew into a partnership built on loyalty and belief. Together, they built a family grounded in faith and ambition. Bria, an educator and entrepreneur, matched his energy, and together they launched the Anderson Family Foundation, mentoring kids who, like Tim once was, just needed someone to believe in them. But fame tests everything: patience, privacy, even love. Their marriage entered the public spotlight, and every silence became speculation. When mistakes made headlines, Tim didn't hide. He faced them, saying, "Growth isn't clean, it's uncomfortable, but necessary." For him, honesty became redemption. "When you live your life in the open," he said, "the only thing you can control is truth." Bria's strength spoke louder than any post. Her calm wasn't weakness, it was wisdom, Through every storm, they found their way back to what mattered most: family. Their home isn't just luxury, it's legacy. Every room echoes with lessons learned. For Tim, being dad became his greatest role. When the cheers fade, he says, it's the tiny hands tugging at my jersey that keep me grounded. Fatherhood reshaped him, gave him patience, perspective, and peace. Beyond wins and losses, it reminded him why he started. He's also been open about mental health, the weight of expectation, the strain of always being strong. For Tim, vulnerability became courage. You can't play your best game, he says, if your heart isn't at peace. He's since become a quiet voice for balance, reminding young players that success means nothing if you lose yourself in the process. Their relationship today isn't about proving, it's about protecting. Protecting peace. Protecting each other. Protecting the life they've rebuilt together. If fame tested your family, what would you choose, silence or honesty? For Tim Anderson, greatness isn't just what happens under stadium lights, it's what happens when he walks through his front door. From spotlight to shadows, his heart still beats for purpose. When the stadiums go silent and the cameras turn off, a different spotlight follows Tim Anderson, one that shines not from fame, but from purpose. For him, greatness isn't about records. It's about how many doors he can open for those walking behind him. I don't just want to inspire the next player, he says. I want to build the next path. From Tuscaloosa to Chicago, that's been his mission, carrying responsibility to his roots, his people, and to every kid who's ever been told they didn't belong. Through the Anderson League of Leaders Foundation, he's turned that mission into action, empowering youth through education, mentorship, and opportunity, especially in the neighborhoods that shaped him. Since 2019, his camps have reached hundreds of kids, teaching not just baseball, but belief. He provides gear, mentors personally, and brings in professional coaches and therapists to teach discipline, confidence, and emotional strength. Because for Tim, success starts long before you reach the league. It starts with mindset. He knows what it feels like to stand at the edge of opportunity, unsure, unprepared, but still dreaming. That's why he shows up, to remind them they're not alone. Mentorship, he says, isn't about performance. It's about presence. He tells them about losing games, doubting himself, wanting to quit because truth builds strength deeper than skill. You can't just teach talent, he says. You've got to teach toughness, the kind that keeps you standing when the crowd stops cheering. Beyond the diamond, Tim has become one of baseball's strongest voices for racial equality and mental health awareness. In a sport that once resisted change, his presence became more than representation. It became a statement. He often speaks about visibility not as vanity, but as validation. Representation matters, he says. Because when young black kids see me in this uniform, they don't just see a player, they see proof. Through partnerships with historically black colleges and universities and local schools, he's helped fund athletic programs, scholarships, and mentorship networks. For him, it's not charity, it's continuation. Every field rebuilt, every glove donated, every classroom visited. It's all part of returning what the game gave him. But what makes his activism resonate most isn't money, it's presence. He's there on the ground, in the community, remembering faces, stories, and names. Because for Tim, legacy isn't how loud you are when the cameras roll. It's who you stand beside when no one's watching. In those moments, he's not the millionaire athlete. He's the man who once had a dream and a glove that didn't fit. That humility keeps him human, even as his influence grows. He's also been open about therapy, grief, and the mental weight of fame. We're all human, he told the Players' Tribune. Sometimes, strength is just saying, you're not okay. Those words spread beyond baseball, a quiet revolution for athletes afraid to be vulnerable. That honesty didn't weaken his image, it deepened it. It made him a different kind of leader. the kind who doesn't just inspire through victories, but through vulnerability. Today, his influence extends beyond sports, shaping culture, community, and conversation. Through collaborations with mental health groups and Black-owned charities, the Anderson Family Foundation has become a blueprint for how modern athletes can lead with empathy, not ego. He's redefined what it means to be a Black man in baseball, not just by how he plays, but by how he gives back. Every speech, every clinic, and every handshake carries a message. Power isn't about dominance. It's about direction. That's Tim Anderson's truth. He doesn't chase legacy. He builds it moment by moment, person by person, field by field. He smiles. Remember, the field is yours now. As the ball lands softly in a young player's glove, the frame fades to black. From the dusty diamonds of Tuscaloosa to the skyline glow of Chicago, Tim Anderson built more than stats. He built a standard. A reminder that greatness doesn't come from where you start, but how you rise. He turned struggle into swagger, heartbreak into heritage, fame into foundation. He didn't just flip bats, he flipped the story of what a Black athlete can be. Bold, resilient, unapologetic. Because for every record broken, there's a legacy built in its shadow. And for Tim, the game was never just about the scoreboard. It was about the standard he left behind. He became a symbol for every kid who's ever been told, "You don't belong." Living proof that kings can rise from anywhere. Is Tim Anderson the face of modern baseball? Or proof that kings are made, not crowned? If stories like this inspire you, like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Join the Black Empire Files, where we uncover the empires shaping Black excellence, one legend at a time.